Welcome to Pulse episode 78. It is, as you probably guessed from the title, once again time for some Diablo news. Yes, the favorite of many. In this week's episode, we take a look at some somewhat new Diablo 3 Beta information, breakpoints in Diablo 2 and 3, some amazingly cool and creative art updates, a few podcast updates, some class lore stories, and much more. Let's get started. So I thought I would start this week's Diablo news talking a little bit about something that a lot of you have no doubt been waiting for, or just waiting to hear more about. Let me just say, as usual, that there isn't a whole bunch of brand new information here, but we'll make do. As we all already know, we're set to hear more about the Diablo 3 Beta during Activision Blizzard's next conference call, and just a couple of days ago we heard that they would in fact be holding said call for their first quarter 2011 financial results after the close of the market on Monday, May the 9th, 2011. Now that is quite exciting, as it is in fact only a few weeks away. We might be mere weeks or even days away from the start of the Diablo 3 Beta. So, what have we heard about the actual beta and the testing set to take place therein recently? Let's have a look. I'll start with this little piece. A fan recently asked on the Battle.net forums if we'd see more of Diablo 3 in screenshots or videos anytime soon, and he got a reply from Bashiok who said the following: "You've actually seen some of the first 3 acts already, and we probably won't be revealing too much more than what we've already shown. We really want to try to keep as much a surprise for you when you play through the game for the first time as possible. We will be announcing all the game's systems though before beta, so there are quite a few things left as far as reveals go. While beta will obviously be a lot of fun, should you get the chance to get in and help test, it'll only be a small part of the whole game. Some people want to know everything, but we're trying to preserve the surprise and wonderment that we hope will come with exploring Diablo 3 as much as possible." So this entire quote has already, obviously, been painstakingly picked apart. A lot of people are worried and happy at the same time. What's good about not seeing the whole game in the beta? Well, we won't be spoiling it for ourselves and others, so the launch of the game will be that much more special. More so than something like Cataclysm, for instance, where we saw pretty much all of the launch content during beta. What's bad? Well, we aren't sure if the rest of the game will be properly tested, and, well, good. We've seen some of Act 1 and 2, but not much more of the rest of the game, besides a few concepts and sketches. But hey, I won't say anything about that because I'm pretty sure Blizzard have it all under control. What do you guys and girls think only a small part of the whole game means? Do you think we'll only get Act 1 like we did during the Diablo 2 beta? Will we see some of Act 2, perhaps even some of the rest of the game? Will Blizzard even be removing things like boss battles if there are spoilers at all? Will we be given access to those most anticipated arenas? There is indeed a lot to think about, and I'd love to know what your opinions are on all of this. Let me know below. Other points to note are that apparently all of the game systems will be announced before the beta. Now, considering that the beta may well be starting in the next month or two, and I really do mean may, that still doesn't leave much time for Blizzard to get all that information out there. I guess I'm just assuming that there's a lot left to announce. I mean, things like the rumored mercenaries, the auction house, maybe some more PvP stuff, who knows. On the same topic though, CyberDragon from over at Diablo Fans also asked Bashiok whether Blizzard had any plans on how and when they're going to announce these remaining systems. Bashiok quite simply replied saying, yes, very specifically. Well, that's something, isn't it? They know exactly what they plan to do and when they plan to do it. Oh well, keep your eyes peeled and keep checking back here for more in the coming days. Hopefully Blizzard is mere days away from blowing our minds. As usual, you can read a lot more about this below, courtesy of Diablo Inc. gamers and Diablo fans. In somewhat related news, I guess, because it does in fact concern the Diablo beta, F. Mulder from over at the Diablo Inc. gamers community recently did some detective work and found out what the system specs were of the demo PCs that played Diablo 3 at the G-Star convention in Korea. I suppose it's not really huge news, but it is interesting, seeing that everyone wants to know how the game will perform on their system once it launches. In short, the PCs were i7 870s with 4 gigs of RAM and GeForce GTX 460s. Definitely not bad, but also not totally out there and extreme. And, well, the game did run flawlessly, so that's great. Do you guys think your PCs will be able to handle the game? Those Diablo 3 demos were no doubt running on max graphics settings too, so I'm pretty sure the slightly older PCs out there will be able to handle the game pretty well. As you all know, it does run on DirectX 9, not 10 or 11, so let me know below what you think about it. Bashiok jumped into a pretty lengthy thread recently, and yes, I seem to start a lot of my news pieces off by saying that nowadays. But anyway, the thread was about Diablo 3's mechanics, and although he did touch on some Diablo 3 stuff here, most of his answers were aimed a little bit more at Diablo 2. Bashiok had the following to say about how the breakpoint system will work in Diablo 3 compared to how it worked in Diablo 2. Just for those who aren't aware, Diablo 2 animations were rendered at 25 frames per second. This is important because it meant that events could only occur on those 25 points in every second. When you start getting into the nitty-gritty of faster attack and cast rates, 25 ticks per second to shave off time for actions to occur isn't nearly granular enough to account for a direct comparison between point increases and an actual result of removing a full frame. These are called breakpoints. Essentially, your attack rate increase points don't mean anything until you get enough to hit the next breakpoint or remove an animation frame, which would actually result in a real effect on your actions. I'll make two statements on breakpoints. Breakpoints were an effect of Diablo 2's engine, not a gameplay mechanic specifically designed into the game. Even modern games run at specific tick rates, and Diablo 3 is no different. I'll only say it's more than 25. Yes, that's actually some pretty intense stuff that'll no doubt make your brain hurt if you think about it too much. And those out there, like me, that weren't really into the whole min-maxing thing in Diablo 2 probably won't get it all, or see the relevance in it. But I gotta say, I did expect, and it does sound good, that Diablo 3's engine can handle more than Diablo 2's engine. So yes, all that really needs to be said here is that Diablo 3 probably won't suffer from the same limitations as those built into Diablo 2's engine, which is good. In the same thread, Bashiok also had a little talk about the trading system in the game and a few other topics, so it's probably well worth checking out, and you can, as usual, read more about all the aforementioned information below. In some slightly more exciting news, well, to me at least, there are a ton of new updates from the Diablo Facebook like campaign. It seems like these updates are just pouring in now, and hey, I won't complain about that for even a second. In the 12th and 13th updates, we were treated with, surprise surprise, 2 new concepts and 2 new screenshots. The first concept piece is of the Unburied. Wherever bodies are dumped together unceremoniously, the unburied may rise. A twisted mass of corpses, soil and rock, bound by foul energies unknown. Their image is only half as terrifying as their intent. Eek. Next up, we have the garishly decorated guards of the great city of Caldium, seen here in early concepts by Vic Lee. Quite impressive stuff, and I sure hope we get to visit Caldium and see these in person soon. As for the screenshots over this past week, we've got a new one of a demon hunter taking an unburied on, and yet another screenshot of the arena that I am pretty sure we've seen before in some form or another. Anyway, check all those out below in full size. On the topic of the Facebook like campaign, Bashiok recently gave us a little insight into what we can expect when we hit that big 1 million. He said the following: "We have something cool lined up, but it's something along the lines of the visuals we've released so far. Nothing earth-shattering, but something cool to celebrate the milestone." Well, that sounds good enough to me. I will just assume it's going to be something totally new and fresh. And yes, something totally awesome. Read more about that and check all those Facebook like updates out below. Sticking with the art updates, we have the next weekly wallpaper from the guys over at Diablo Inc. Gamers. This one is once again by the user named HolyKnight3000, and it's titled Horrifying Horrify. I will agree and say that it is quite horrifying indeed. Check it out in full size below. Next up, we have something rather special, and I guess pretty unique. A Tyreal plushie. Yes, just look at that little bugger. He's so cute. Doku-sama from over at DeviantArt is the creator of this little masterpiece, and she says she would have loved to add even more detail but just couldn't find the needed materials. You can see this in full size along with her tutorial on how she made it below. Last up in the art updates, we have the 2 latest fan art watch posts from the guys over at Diablo Inc. Gamers. Fan art watch number 88 features monks. Lots and lots of monks. Some of these are indeed quite cool looking and quite varied, definitely doing the amazing looking class justice. Fan art watch number 89 is one of the more unique fan art watch posts we've seen thus far. This one is titled South Park D2 and features, well, Diablo themed South Park characters. There are actually quite a few of these images, all featuring different characters plus some monsters and scenes. Quite funny and quite cute too. Check all those out in full size below. In the YouTube updates, we have a few Diablo podcasts for all of you to listen to and some class lore stories. So first up, you can check the latest Diablo Cast episode, that's number 6, right here on YouTube. This week's episode once again features Force and the guys from over at Diablo Fans talking about a great many Diablo related topics, including the Diablo 3 Beta and its no doubt imminent arrival, the recent Kevin Martin's interview, some PvP stuff, and even more talk about the most recent Facebook like art updates. Yes, a lot of good stuff as usual and well worth a listen. Next up, we have the Diablo Podcast, episode 3, from the guys and girls over at Diablo Inc. Gamers. This week they talk about BlizzCon. All about BlizzCon. Flux, who is a 4-time attendee himself, interviews 3 members of the Diablo community who have attended at least 2 BlizzCons apiece. Quite interesting stuff and well worth a listen, especially if you enjoy getting caught up in all the hype. Last up in the YouTube updates, we have something rather unique, much appreciated and most definitely special. Force, from over at Force D3 Strategy, has put together the Diablo class stories. This basically just gives all of us a chance to find out a little more about each of the classes in Diablo 3. While all the information he presented can be found on the official Diablo 3 website, it is still quite a treat hearing the sure-tongued Force read it all to us, and well, we can't deny that he did in fact present it incredibly well too. So if you want to hear more about the background and lore of your favorite class, check those out right here on YouTube. With that done, let's head on over to the Diablo III Smalls. In this week's Smalls, over at Diablo Inc. Gamers, you can check out the Dark Library number 37, the Journal of Leoric, King of Kanduras. Then right here on YouTube, you can check out the history of Blizzard in video form, courtesy of Machinima. Over at Diablo Fans, you can check out this week's poll, Will You PvP? And it seems like Diablo fans have updated their forum software. Now let's check out the Diablo 3 questions and answers. Not that many questions and answers this week, so let's get started. Anyways, my question to you, Bashiok, is how much has the game changed since that first video? Obviously there have been a ton of additions, removals, etc., but does the game play quite differently than it did 3 years ago? It doesn't really, which I think is the biggest reason why we announced it when we did. We hit a point pretty early on where the core of the game felt right and we knew we had a solid base to build on. Then it was just a process of making the game. Can you describe a monster we haven't seen yet? Sure, it's got like a face and hands, and as soon as it sees you it'll slowly start walking toward you, then start to attack. I get how female demons gave birth to Nephilim, but how did female angels do it, seeing as they're just made of sound and light? Nephilim were born of a union between angels and demons, and not in a way we would consider a literal birth. Sadly, that is the end of the questions and answers, and the end of Pulse episode 78. Yes, I'm sorry, that's all I have for you this week. So, as usual, thanks for checking this video out, liking it, favoriting it, sharing it with your friends, co-workers, and grandparents. But most importantly, happy almost Diablo 3 Beta.